Welcome back to another episode of the Millennial Minute. I'm David Grasso for Bold TV. You already heard from our guest, Sanjay Laforest. He's the founder and owner of the Priveé Group, and Emil Skandul, tech columnist, also a friend of Bold TV, both of them. So, outdoor dining. So you said right off the top, Sanjay, devastating. Why do you think it's not based on science? Besides those statistics you threw out, what else is there? What other evidence suggests that dining can be safe?
Well, the evidence is the protocols that we implement. And for the past 2 months since indoor dining has been open, we've implemented so many protocols that they no longer are implementing at households, or they never were implementing at households or in apartments or anything. The amount of money that we spent thousands of dollars on HVAC, air filtration systems, and air curtains when people walk in to blow air down on them. So it's about the implementation of the protocols to stop people from obtaining these fires. And I think that we do that more so in the restaurants than people do at their at-home gatherings.
Yeah, so Emil, we understand what you're saying, right? Of course, the government should be supporting restaurants and offering stimulus, but we're creating a problem in the first place by closing these restaurants down, right? Do you really feel it's absolutely necessary to create this type of crisis in order to safeguard public health?
Yeah, the economic problems that we're having are really public health problems, right? We have ICU beds that are at capacity. We have thousands of people dying every single day. The fact of the matter is that consumers are not going to be returning to restaurants anytime soon. And while there is some data pointing to the fact that restaurants may not be contributing to all of the spread within communities, they are contributing to the spread. And there's also the possibility that that data isn't accurate. It's not perfect. Local contact tracing has been pretty atrocious. And so I really think that, we should be doing everything as possible to communicate a good public health message here. And that's do everything outside. Do not do anything inside with your friends and with your family. Do as much as possible over the next few months to engage in activities that you can outside. And for restaurants in places where the climate is much colder, we have to work with certain restrictions. That means that there has to be less indoor capacity. We have to make sure that there are heaters outside, perhaps on sidewalks, that restaurants have the ability to expand the restaurants out on the street. And that hasn't been uniform across every single city.
So I'm going to try to hide my own bias here because I'm definitely pro-open. So I'm just going to put that out there for this audience. Here in Orlando, Sanjay, we have half the unemployment rate, right? And over in New York, restaurants have been intermittently closed for 9 months. Who could possibly survive for 9 months? And while I recognize what Emil is saying, there has been a lot of death in New York. Aren't we entrenching poverty and dooming millions of restaurateurs to just devastating economic results?
We absolutely are. The percent of COVID patients in New York City is 0.02%. And on Long Island, it's 0.03%. So what's to stop someone from getting into their car, taking the train, going 30 minutes to Long Island to eat a meal safely? And one thing that was mentioned are the heaters. And fine, it was snowing yesterday and we had a snowstorm, but they sent a memorandum out yesterday morning and said that we have to close outdoors. So if we have to close outdoors and we have to close indoors, which they just said last Monday, how in the world could restaurants survive? Why would you just not shut them down entirely, specifically in the cold? And then regarding the regulations that they have for the heater systems, we spent thousands on a new heater, on propane heaters, but now they're not allowed anymore on our outdoor enclosures.
Yeah, so Emil, all these restaurateurs did this. Here in Florida, everything is open and our death rate is still lower than it was in New York. Do you feel like what we're doing here in Florida is dangerous then? Even though if you look at the most recent unemployment statistics to come out, our unemployment continues to go down because our governor has insisted on keeping everything open.
Yeah, look, 1 in 10 workers in the U.S. is employed by the restaurant industry, right? The restaurant industry is about 4% of the U.S. GDP. So it's a pretty significant number, right? But the fact of the matter is that stimulus should have been there for the restaurants and for the industry, right? We shouldn't be compromising our public health for the economy, right? There needs to be a solution for restaurants and businesses. The proposal that I made recently in the Business Insider op-ed was to provide local business spending vouchers. Every American would receive $100 to $200 to spend locally at small businesses and at restaurants. The idea behind this is that there's a higher velocity of money within local economies. People spend more, and money exchanges hands more frequently locally. That would come with stipulations. We can make restrictions for those vouchers to limit vouchers to just pickup, to just curbside pickup or delivery. Or we can provide those vouchers at a later time. Right now, the restaurants need to be rescued. I really don't think that we should be compromising public health. People are dying, and looking at the numbers, it may be a small percentage of young people that are dying, but again, ICU beds are at an all-time capacity.
So Sanjay, I'll give you the last word here because we're out of time. You're actually in the trenches here. You're in the restaurant industry. Can you tell us what these policies have done to your staff, to your life, to really how you're viewing 2021 coming up?
Well, I believe that it's unfair. I believe that it's cruel. I believe that it's unjust. And I believe there's no logic behind the math or the science. And for my staff, unfortunately, I had to furlough a lot of my staff. The payroll protection plan that they so-called gave as government assistance is a loan. So I'm further building a hole for myself. I just think that the assistance package that needs to come forth is one that is actually forgiven, because how can we forgive 65% of the payroll assistance package when the restaurants are closed? It just doesn't add up. And I hope things will change. I believe there's a light at the end of the tunnel at this juncture.
Yeah, so I think we both established here that both of you agree that we do need significant help for the restaurant industry. And hopefully, despite we disagree on opening or closing and whether it's safe to be at a restaurant, but we can all agree that restaurateurs in this country, entrepreneurs, especially small businesses, need help. Correct, gentlemen?
Yeah, that's right. And look, right now in a recent survey, in New York State, the Restaurant Association here said that 90% of restaurants don't expect to be profitable in the next 6 months. And a good 1/3 of them expect to close permanently. And again, already 165,000 restaurants have closed, 100,000 permanently. These are really devastating numbers. And again, that has an impact on local economies and workers. So the fact of the matter is that we just need stimulus. That's really what it is. We need a way to expand PPP for small businesses.
Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate this spirited conversation and your time, and all the best to you over the holiday season. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for many more very spirited debates here on the Millennial Minute on Bold TV. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or wherever you consume social media. See you next time.